Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Alex, and today I'm going to be doing a Premiere Pro tutorial for you guys. Today we're going to learn how to use the Warp Stabilizer tool. Now, who cares about the project stuff? We're just going to overwrite that and whatever. This is just an example, nothing fancy. So I shot a clip before. This is just some stabilizing test footage. So we'll drag and drop it into our import media section here, and as you can see, it's just a simple, more cinematic looking type of shot here, just going up towards this wind chime thing, and that's about it. Nothing too fancy or anything like that. Now, what you're going to want to do is go into your effects and type in Warp Stabilizer, and it's going to be in the video effects, distort, and warp stabilizer. You're just going to want to drag and drop that into your video file right here, and it's going to start analyzing the frames. I use it a lot. I used it in a few of my videos. I use it. It's good for like maybe like product videos or whatever, you know, unbox therapy and all that type of stuff, or like PC builds when they do those nice looking shots. That's pretty much this effect with what they use. They probably use stuff in After Effects as well, but alright. So it analyzed our footage. Now let's take a look at it. So as we can see, it is much more stabilized, but it's not the best looking. So here, this says nothing on it. Okay. So let's take a before and after. So this is before. So there is a lot of shaking in there, handheld shaking, and then this is after. So there is still some handheld shake, but it almost looks somewhat cinematic or a stylized type effect compared to, like, let's look at this first scene. Alright, so that draw in is really good with the stabilized, but if we look on here, you could definitely tell it's handheld because there's a lot of shaking around. You see that this first beginning pole is moving and this part's moving a little bit. It just doesn't look too professional. Now, the Warp Stabilizer tool is great because it has a lot of options. You can increase the smoothness of how your footage looks like. You can choose a smooth motion or no motion. Obviously you want smooth motion because that's kind of the point of this effect. There's different methods as well, so subspace warp, perspective, position, scale, rotation, and position. All of these depend on what happens and how you're doing your product or your project. Some of these, depending on how it's shot and everything, sometimes you'll have to change these methods for it to fit. You might have to crop it in a little more depending on how it's shot and everything. But so that's always good when you have some good footage that you put in and it's all working good and all that stuff. So you could also hit preserve scale, and that'll try to preserve the original cropping of it and not crop it in like it did before, like it just did pretty much. So that's that option. You can change the framing as well. So you could have crop, auto scale, you could have synthesize edges, you can crop it or stabilize only. So here we go. So if I wanted to stabilize it only, as you could see, this frame shakes a lot. That's pretty much the automatic stabilizer that is trying to stabilize our shot. So that's stabilize only. Stabilize and crop. We'll crop it in like this so that there's no shaky edges, but it's cropped. So, you know, I would go to scale and I would crop it in. All right, there we go. So that's what it looks like. Now, if we had it on stabilize, crop, and auto scale, it's pretty much doing the same thing, except I scaled it down or scaled it up by myself. Let's put this back to 100. So it's really stuff that you can just really all play around with. It depends on what footage you shot, what aspect ratio you shot, and all that fun stuff.
Then you have additional scale here, which just pretty much zooms in and whatever. Nothing really
that important. And then, so let's go over smoothness. Smoothness pretty much just makes it that you could smooth out the footage more if you needed to. So let's bring it up all the way to 100. Alright, and every time you do change a setting, like let's say smoothness, or if we go into advanced, which I'm going to talk about, and we do a detailed analysis, you're going to see up by warp stabilizer and analyze here that it's going to go through each frame and stabilize it. So if you do have long clips, this effect can take a while to load in and everything, because it has to analyze every single frame and adjust accordingly. So it is a kind of a pain in the ass depending on how long your video clips are and everything. So this is at 100% smoothness instead of 50 that it was set at. So there's definitely a difference there from that instead of 50. So then let's go to advanced here. So advanced allows you to do different things such as rolling shutter ripple, which I usually never worry about. You can change it if there's crop less or smooth more. So if you wanted smooth more, you could put that as smooth more instead of worrying about the cropping as much, and it'll make your footage look smoother. This pretty much just hides the stabilizing banner that pops up saying stabilizing, or if there's a problem with it. But now let's go over the last option, which is detailed analysis, which is very important depending on how important the shot is, or if it needs more analysis. You could hit detailed analysis, which will pretty much just analyze the footage even further and just try to make it better than it already is with the effect already added in. It'll pretty much just analyze the data even more and just try to make it as smooth as possible. Then after that, you can screw around with the smoothness more and all that fun stuff. So this effect is really helpful. If you have a DSLR, depending on what you're shooting with, it's always good to have image stabilization lenses and everything, or the body to have image stabilization. It'll make your footage look much smoother, and then you throw this effect on it, and it looks like fucking butter, and it's awesome, and it's great. And I use it on a lot of my videos, so if you want to see some examples, you could go check out some of those, but this effect is good. I'm sure there's an After Effects version as well. I'm not a big fan of After Effects and how it all works and everything. It's kind of a pain in the butt to me. But if you're working in Premiere or whatever, you just want to do something quick edit and just kind of fix a little clip or whatever, this is a good tool to work with. I've done this with big projects and it fucking sucks, by the way, so that's just a heads up. And it doesn't work for all videos. Like I've tried to do a phone video with this, and it just didn't look too good or turn out well. Alright, so now it's just stabilizing, and as you see, it cropped in a little more. Let's see if we can crop it out. Nope. Alright. So as you see, it's much smoother footage compared to our original footage. It was very shaky, and you could definitely tell it was handheld and not cinematic at all. And when you look at this one, you could tell that there's definitely some cinematic aspects to it. But you will see that there is some bending in the background, or just bending in the picture and everything. Sometimes it seems almost wavy, so you do have to be considerate of that. Let's say, alright, I really like this clip. I kind of want to make it a little more cinematic if possible. Boom. I'll throw these bars on. Let's just make them not so thick. Maybe like that aspect. And then we'll render it. And then let's, where is my full frame, maximize frame? And as you can see, the footage looks much more cinematic and much better looking. Even though, the sharpness isn't too great or whatever, my autofocus wasn't working that well for some odd reason on my camera. But that's pretty much just a quick little tutorial on that. Dig around, practice with it, take some practice clips to just see how it works and everything for you. It's all dependent on the person, and like I said, it all depends on the shots. Some shots will work and others won't. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little jumbo tutorial. I hope this helped you in some way, and if it did, awesome. That's what I do, and I'm glad I helped you. So yeah.